T minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And we're back. Thanks for sticking around. We are going to do a couple of things. We're going to do like one good mission or a set of missions in KSP, and then probably call it a night. I might actually switch off into some Minecraft later on. We'll see. That's just going to be more of a like a sit around, shoot the breeze type of stream. But for right now, let's instead of thinking about that, let's get a good mission in here. Actually, first thing before I do that, let's look at what it's going to take. Oh man, we could do it, but it would take all of our money, and then make it not worth it. So right now, our next step is basically trying to get to the moon. But we are butting our head against this max part count of 30, and it is really cramping my style. So we have... This would get us a max part count of 255, which is obviously substantially better, and give us some action groups. Another thing we want to upgrade eventually is a tracking station. We're going to try to get to the moon without tracking, aren't we? That'll be fun. We're good on the research and development for right now, which is good because look at the upgrade. Okay. Astronaut complex. We can only disembark in here. We need this before we go on the moon too. I mean, we could keep them in the pod, but I mean, what would be the point? Spaceplane hangar, not much there. Mission control cheap, but we don't need to upgrade it quite yet. For flight planning. What is flight planning? Tracking station upgrade required for flight plan. I don't know what flight planning is. And we're good on the pad. So right now, our current goal is to get a couple more 100K of funds here. And then we can upgrade the vehicle assembly building. We can get the astronaut complex. So we can actually do some EVAs. And have enough for a couple more launches. But first, we've got a bunch of science to spend. I'm almost thinking, well, like, I wouldn't want to nerf research gains down much below 50% because these first levels are so hard to do at just these base tech levels, but we're doing okay for science so far, even with that. Everything here is not... We can complete this entire node with that one mission, thanks to outsource R&D. So let's get some things we know we want. I mean, we're going to finish this entire thing off, most likely, but we can unlock all of the aeronautic parts. These get us some of our... These get us a lot of our station parts, which our money is going to be shunted in towards ground infrastructure first, but planetary survey camera, soil sample system, those are parts from MKS, the colonization part of the Umbra Space Industries mods, and those can get us science. So we're definitely picking that up. Oh! We have hit a bit of a wall here, haven't we? So, okay, we're going to make this simple. We're going to unlock each of these nodes without having to look at them, because that's actually all we can unlock for right now. And 115 left over. Well, we wouldn't have gotten any of these anyways. But yeah, that's the state of affairs. We need to upgrade this building before then, and the upgrade cost is $750,000 for them. Get the moon on duct tape and shoestring. Yep. But we have unlocked a lot of aeronautics parts. First of all, let's I still have that radial parachute thing in my active. So let's do something really quick just to get those cleared out. Build a new surface outpost on Minmus. Expires in 4 days. We'll never get there in 4 days. That would have been a pretty nice one to do. Let's see. Those are pretty eccentric orbits. We could do that. Look at the... Ooh. Those are pretty lucrative. What else can we do? Is there anything we can do real quick just to clear the system? We can do the other parachute. We want you to test the parachute when you're 16K up in the air. I guess. If you insist. Alright, so we're just going to do these couple just to get them out of the way here. I just want to do something really quick to clear my my contracts. So let's lose all of that. We've got the MK16 that we want to launch at about 1600, and the radial mount that we want to get rid of at a much more reasonable 7500. So we don't need to go up that fast. So let's try to do this really quick and get to more exciting things. Structural. What we'll do, that is the M16 there. So we're just going to go straight up, shed a lower stage at 7500 with the radials, and then hopefully hit an APO of around 16K and just let the capsule fall from there. Sounds pretty reasonable, right? So we need one stage to get us from 7500 up to there. I'm not sure. See, I've got numbers in my head for getting the low Kerbal orbit and all that stuff, but I don't have in my head what exactly we need for in Atmo. Wow, look at oof. We unlocked a fair amount of engines there that we didn't even bother to look at in the research stage. Most of them are carbonite here. We've got a basic jet engine. We don't have the turbojet. But we do have these radial jet engines from carbonite, so those might make the atmospheric ones a little bit easier. We'll take a look at that a little bit later. That's actually a lot of delta V for what we're looking at. I'm pretty sure we can get away with just that. Again, we're just looking to get that's probably going to be too much, isn't it? Yeah, we don't need that far. In fact, we basically just need to do that again. We're just going to have to do this a little bit of trial and error. Utility, what am I doing? Oof. Yeah, look at all of... Ooh. Alright, so we got some cameras. Some basic docking parts, some station parts, life supports parts. Wow. We definitely unlocked quite a bit there. We'll play with that, all in good time. Okay, get those radial attached. Do the same thing there. So the idea is that we will get up to no higher than 8,800 meters, ditch this stage with the radials, which will take care of this contract, and then keep boosting up to about 16,000 meters. Ditch the last stage, and then float on down with just the capsule. Couldn't be simpler, right? Let's try it. It's going to get very little return here, but it's better than taking the penalties for not finishing it. All right, how much thrust to weight do we have? Oh, staging's not right. Let's fix that. Why would we ever want... Oh, because I did a copy and it screwed up the logic. That looks right, that looks right. Okay. Thrust to weight, 2.24. So we can go about there. Again, we only need to get on the first stage up to 7,500. So, 3, 2, 1, F5, space. I think it was clipped a little bit into the pad. We're okay. We might not have enough thrust in this stage. We are down. No, we definitely don't have enough strength thrust in this stage. Hello, kitty. So hi to the camera. Yep. Easy fix. We just need, actually, let's keep those at top. Actually, it probably wouldn't hurt to move those down towards the middle. Right. Let's fix the staging. That goes down there. Okay. That gets fired. Decouple. Pop the chutes at the same time. We fire that engine. Those get fired. We might actually need... I think we might need a little bit more help there too. Alright, let's try that. More boosters! We've got plenty of thrust. It's just a matter of getting the right amount of fuel. Because monetarily, we're not getting a whole lot back for this mission. So we don't want to waste too much. But we are going to throttle it up all the way now. Because we've almost doubled the amount of fuel we have. F5 for safety. 3, 2, 1, space. And it is glitched into the... Yeah, okay. So, to fix this, we are going to do something that we have not been able to do before, and that is to add these launch stabilizers. Because they are clipping, this thing is clipping into the base there, and I don't know why. That will keep it a safe distance away from the actual pad. I mean, we should have been doing this. We should be launching straight off the pad anyways. Now that we have these things, and we get all the money back for them, there's no reason really not to use them. Alright, again, F5 safety, 3, 2, 1 space. This is pretty much an ideal acceleration for off the pad on Kerbin. Again, you don't want to go too fast too quick because air fights back exponentially harder the harder you push on it. So the faster you're going through dense atmosphere, the more percentage of your fuel that you are currently burning is going into fighting the air instead of going faster. So you want to control your speed up until you get out of the soup. And okay, we are going to cut it there. First contract complete. We might have lost a little bit too much speed there. No, I think we're okay. We're good. Because we're out of the dense atmosphere, so now we are accelerating like a crazy person. We probably don't even need that tank. Actually, we're going to... There we go. Cut Apo. And we are... Oh, shoot. Shoot. I forgot. Minimum speed. Okay. Cut. There we go. Wait a minute. Why did that not fire? That was like... They even said... Ah, God. Alright, F9. Revert. I don't know why that didn't fire the first time. That was perfect. I might have just overshot it. Alright. Again, 3, 2, 1 space. Let's do this again. We'll get it right. Let's stretch this out a little bit. There we go. No, come back. Okay. So, when you're going that fast, that's actually a pretty small window, so we need to be mindful of that. We must have just edged above 8,800 or something. So, I really need to be fast. We need to cut power, ditch the stage, throttle back up, and stage again. Between a distance of 75 and 88. And at a minimum of 220 meters a second, that's 5 seconds, but we're going to be going faster than that. Or are we? Yeah, we will. Just barely. Okay, let's get ready. 5. Cut it. Ah, we weren't going fast enough. Really? Okay, this is what we're going to do. I think we lost power from the engine just before we hit the minimum speed. So we are going to ditch that because it's not really needed. We should have enough speed that will be enough fuel to maintain our momentum enough to get into the proper altitude. Perhaps since the chutes are open on your what? Were the chutes open on the decoupler? Oh, you mean as I decoupled? I think you're on to something there. Nope. Pid. Because we'd already staged... Oh, Okay. good. Good on you. I think you're right. I think you may be right, because it's staged at the same time that the chutes deployed. It didn't count. So, we are going to adjust the staging ever so slightly. So the chutes deploy before it decouples, and we're just going to rapidly tap through that stage. Let's try that. I think you're right. And we did lose that one canister, so we don't have to throttle all the way up. We'll be a little bit more efficient. We'll still have a little bit of fuel left in there when we stage, but that's okay. 3, 2, F5 for safety. 3, 2, 1, space. Actually, I'm going to throttle up all the way up, because I want to make sure that we're hitting that minimum speed. So it's not the most efficient burn, but we're not being that inefficient. Okay, approaching 7,500. Minimum speed's good. Cut! Bam, bam, bam! Okay, it worked. Mission complete on that one. So let's actually gonna throttle down a little bit here, because we don't want to overshoot our range of speed. And we're going to do a little bit extra. Contract's complete. Now, normally we would not be popping our chutes while traveling up. But physics be damned. So, I mean, that doesn't give us much in the way of money. It gives us a little bit of science, which currently we cannot spend until we upgrade the VAB. But it does give us reputation, and reputation gives us bigger missions, so that helps. Stage recover 98%, of course, because they are very small stages, and we're basically landing right next to the KSP. So, and there we go, a little bit more reputation there. So, as it tumbles out of control, it's got to get back into the heavy stuff, and there, now the parachute is exerting enough vertical force. Down to the cloud cover. This is, by the way, the cloud cover here is part of, what is it called? The Astronomer's resource pack. Let me look that up real quick. Astronomer's Visual Pack. They currently have a new pack called Interstellar version 2. And I could not get that to where I spent like a couple of days trying to get that to work with this mod pack and couldn't. But the one they released just before that I had prior experience, called Oblivion, that's what gave, like, you know, you get the nice clouds here. You get the city lights when it goes up, and like a lot of other planets have a lot more added detail too. So I was able to get that to work. Oh, huh. Well, okay. We should be okay, right? we're gonna land so close to the KSP that we don't even have to taxi. We just need a forklift. Just meet, and then, okay. So we should get pretty much, well, it doesn't matter, because stage recovery is not going to handle this. It's going to let us do it straight from that, because they don't get unloaded when they're that close, obviously. But right now, the engineers down in the VAB are praising our name for giving them so little work to do, and the Kerbals in the administration building are now cursing us for basically cutting into their new pants budget. And we'll just glide ever so softly. Dunk. Look at that. And the Russian judge give it a 10. So let's recover. We've cleared those 2 minuscule little contracts out of the list. Kerbal forklift program. Oh, that almost gives me a bad idea later on down the road, but we do have the Kerbal attachment system. We could do something that resembles a forklift. It'd be more like a... No, we could do that with docking ports. No, we could do that later on down the road. Yes. Yeah, should have landed on the helicopter pad on the... If I were aiming. If that were anywhere near our objective. And if that wouldn't, like, totally tank the game. So we got 990 funds from that. No big whoop. Alright, let's get into something a little bit more juicy before we call it out. Rescue, I mean, that's not a small chunk of change, but that is going to be so much harder without maneuver nodes. Not so much the nodes, but just being able to set something as a target. I don't think you can set something as a target until you get maneuver nodes. So calculating things like relative velocity and trying to get everything, that's going to be, I mean, it can be rough. If we hit the Kerbal, done. So that's going to be hard to do until we upgrade. And what's that going to take again? 210, which we could do, but I mean, that's not where we want that money to go right now. We need to rescue 4 Kerbals for that to be worth it. We can explore the moon, but we can't get scientific data from the moon until we upgrade the astronaut building. I do very much appreciate the fact that they changed the background for every level too, so this is more of a lounge area than an astronaut complex. That costs 105. That's more reasonable. But that's pretty much... That is going to be about 2/3 of our funds gains from going to the moon. And we'd have to try to get there in under 30 parts. So, I think what we'll do instead, first we'll go here. Oh, these, we get 2. Parts. These are all close by. We'll take another look at that, but one of the things I kind of want to do is these here. What are these orbits? They're not any of the anything that we have in orbit. They are the projected orbits for a couple of proposed missions. Get that out of the way. They're both polar, and they're all both pretty eccentric. But I think we might have the stuff to do it. This is going to be rough. I think we're going to try for this. We're going to do... And what would these get us exactly? Let's look again. That... 300,000, pretty much. It's going to take a little change out of that for the science. Oof. We're gonna have a lot of science when we upgrade that. And that's pretty similar too. This I actually like better, and it gives us more. And how much are the visual surveys or Kerbin? Not that one. Temperature scan. Oh, those are temperature scans, not aerial scans. So that's not a small chunk of change either, but obviously 70k versus 300k. I think we can get a satellite up in under 30 parts. I like that a lot better than trying to go to the moon. If we can do one of these, we can do both. That pretty much pays off the VAB, the astronaut complex, and we might even have a little bit left over for the monitoring station. So let's get started on that. These expire, this one expires in 3 hours. And it's the more lucrative one and the one that's what I wanted to do anyways. So let's start with that. Actually, how long do these have to expire? I should have checked that before I got into the VAB. Because if these have like a year to go, I'll just accept them both right now. Expires 3 years. No, duration 3 years, expires 3 days. So yeah, we're going to accept both of those right now and make sure that those don't go away. So, we need a basic satellite. Actually, so we've got some. Alright, so Prebodine, we'll go with this one. State Putnik has no torque. Or actually, this one does. And we can put stuff on top of it. So, we just need to get a satellite in orbit to fulfill the requirements. But we're going to add... What can we add? We are going to add... Actually, this is going to be a pretty eccentric orbit. So we have these things from ScanSat, which integrates with things like Utah and our other resource mods. So the scan radar altimetry sensor will get you like a low resolution topographical map of your planet. The KA100 detection array will help you detect concentrations of resources throughout your planet. Both are very, very good to have. Also, we've got the planetary survey camera, which also, I think it works in much the same way as the detection array. I think it might just get other different resources. So we can use all of these to basically take a map of your planet or the moon that you're trying to get. It's really fun. You can actually get a little bit of science from it too, and it gives your satellite something very important to do. The problem is that the orbits that we're trying to get these into are very eccentric, and these have ranges of usefulness. So we have two options here. We can get a very dirt cheap satellite up there in the eccentric orbit and just then forget about it, just enough to get that money. Or we can load it up with some of the scientific equipment, get it up into the orbit required by the mission, but then we'll put it up there with enough fuel so that once the contract is complete, it can shrink the orbit back down to its optimal height. And both of these orbits are polar orbits, or close enough to being polar orbits, which are pretty much ideal if you're looking to map a planet. Because if you do an equatorial orbit, you are only going to scan the narrow band, because it's only got so much detection. You have to cover the planet over a certain amount of time, and we'll see that once we get up there. But if you're on an equatorial orbit, which is our standard orbit when you're trying to get in the low Kerbin orbit, you're only going to research a narrow band around the equator because it's never going to go higher or lower. If you do a polar, it goes from north, south, and back, and as the planet rotates underneath it, it's hitting a new area every time you go. So for this type of satellite, a polar orbit is key, and both of these contracts are polar orbits, so I think we're going to go for the Gusto here. And we're going to... Yeah, I want to go cheap, but it's just too... Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to load up some scientific equipment, and we're going to check the part count and see where we are from there. And if it's too much, then we'll go cheap. But the orbits that we're going to be going into are kind of like... They're ideal for this. We just need to decrease the eccentricity once the contract is complete. So, in order to do that, that's not going to be enough fuel. Well, that's 90 fuel, that's 45. That's still pretty big for a satellite like... But that's okay, because... Oh, you know what the other thing is? Something I failed to check before. It might make a big difference in whether we do this or not. Okay, so we have the basic... So we got the batteries. We need power for all of this, and right now we don't have any of the panel arrays. We just have the flat photovoltaics, which is enough. We've done it. I've done it before. Can we do it with just RCS? I haven't tried, to be honest. Something like that. We have... That's... What other monopropellant tanks do we have? We got carbonite, carry can. So we do have that. What do we have for... that's now under control, right? Linear RCS port. The only thing about using mono is the specific impulse isn't great. And we're going to be doing some major orbital adjustments here. Oxat, satellite, rock. Oxat. Which ones are the... Yeah, so these are okay. We just need to make sure that they're on every angle, because these scientific instruments that I'm looking to put on here aren't... They can be pretty power intensive. Managed to drop on the moon from our... Yeah, you can do it with enough. But we also have a part cap of 30. So I could add an RCS tank and then add some linear RCS ports, or I can add... Not this one. Let's see. Let's see, this poodle. That is 0.5. That is 0.1. That's got better... Could go either way here. I'm going to unlock this first because I know I'm going to use that for other things. That is... that isn't a word excessive. Can I get away? How much mass is this? Just over a ton. That's 1,000. So this would actually be half its weight. So it's not really worth that, I don't think. That's almost the same amount of thrust. It's not as efficient, but we're going to be using... It's going to be far less weight, so that's going to be it. Let's see. Chat Octo. Hello, Ammo Trooper. the 48 7S is definitely vastly superior in this specific instance. And that's going to give us a fair amount of delta V. That's going to be good. That's probably even a little bit more than what we need to bring our highly eccentric orbit back down. Yeah, the lower mass is going to make a huge difference. Here's where the challenge is going to happen. We've got a lot of parts here, and they're not small, and a lot of them are different masses. So it's a little bit of a balancing act. So this one is 0.03, this one's 0.05, that one's 0.001. So when we're launching from Atmo, this doesn't matter a whole lot, but when you are all the other stages and it's just this, that's going to throw off the balance quite a bit. And we only have so much space to put it, and we still have to fit the solar panels. So this is the heaviest sensor. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Okay, so there's something I didn't see here. There has to be a mystery goo canister on this. Part of the mission specific says it has to be a mystery goo canister. Okay, so set the R10 to 33 thrust. We can do that. Does that make it more efficient, or is it just make sure that we don't go wildly under control? Can put the scan. Yeah, I have to. Well, here's what I'm going to do first. It doesn't exactly lock up on the top there. I want to make sure that we have at least one forward-facing... Actually, I know what we can do. I know what we can do for that. So scratch that for a second. One thing I do want... We need some more surface area to mount stuff on, so let's grab some batteries that we are definitely going to need anyways. Because like I said, these scientific instruments chew through power, and when they're on the dark side of the moon, the planet, the only way to get that, is to keep it up with some power. So if we do that, let's... How are we looking for part count? 7. We're going to be kind of close to this part count. One thing the solar arrays would have done much better is just we would only count as 2 parts, where these don't. And we have to have enough to make sure that they have enough hitting the sun at all times. Now, let's keep that up there. This might be too much. So, that's 8 parts right there. That is expensive. 3 on top. See, look, we're on the same wavelength. So I got 4 on top and 4 on bottom at 45 degrees, and that makes sure, like, as I just said, as the stream lag catches up. So that means it doesn't matter if, no, I like that. Come back. No matter what angle, it's always going to be hit on. So if I'm pointing straight at the sun, we still got that. Pointing away, we still have that. And any side we have is hitting sunlight as long as there's sunlight to be had. I initially put 4 on here because we might need that for the scientific equipment that we're going to put. Actually, first of all, we need... Let's take a look at something. Altitude. Best altitude 100. Best altitude 500. Best altitude 100. But it just needs at least 5K. So all of these can work. What is periapsis? 73,000. So the periapsis for this orbit is just barely above the atmo. Which is plenty enough. So all of these can work. So we're going to want to put this at about 100. And even though the ideal altitude for this particular one is at 500, it still meets the minimum. Oh no, that's not ideal. That's max. Never mind. So that doesn't even have an ideal. It just needs to be within. So that's okay. So we just need these to be about 100. Okay, that's fine. So all of those work. Alright, so we can fit all of these. Yep. Would it be enough? I fear like we're going to have to do that anyways because the parts is just so much. We'll figure it out. So we need a mystery goo canister. That is 0.15. I'm going to try it and attempt some asymmetric building. What looks good here? That kind of looks okay. I just want to do some Kerbal fashion program just to get it looking somewhat realistic. That is probably not perfectly balanced. So we got 0.15 on that side. This is almost massless. Yeah, so I'm doing this on these contracts because both of these contracts are polar orbits. They're highly eccentric. They're highly eccentric, but they are polar orbits, so it's too good of an opportunity to throw some science equipment up while I'm up there. What am I at now? 14 parts. Planetary survey camera is comically large. For the amount of mass it actually has, it's almost massless. Almost. Soil sample system you need to be on the ground for. Detection ray, 0.15. So it almost makes more sense for the planetary survey to be on top, and by the way, this expands. Check, 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 and comes back down. So when it's enabled, it makes more sense visually if this were on top and that were on the side, but this is much, much heavier. 0.03, actually 0.15. Ooh, hold on. 0.03, 0.15. So that's going to be heavier than everything. So really, we want the goo to be on top because that is like 5 times heavier than anything else here. That's going to be hard to balance. So it's going to look weird no matter what we do, just because of this the parts involved. We also want to make sure that we try to get it so that it's not interrupting the solars. Alright, I'm going to put the solars on last. So this is going to be pointing that way, pointing that way. Let's rotate you so that when you expand, you actually miss everything else. It does look weird. Let's see. Power and an antenna. So we do need an antenna too. Where the heck are we going to put an antenna that actually... I mean, we've already pretty much thrown what looks right to the wind. Yeah, I think the antenna is massless anyways. Could put... we don't want to waste parts too much on Kerbal Fashion Academy. Use an offset tool to center the mass of goo. Center how? Like, center it this way? I mean, it looks pretty centered when it comes to that. Do you mean, like, put it inside the probe core? I think that's what you mean. Nope. Let's try that. I mean, it clips. Obviously, we're going to be clipping it really quite a bit. Hello. Why don't you want to move? Offset. It's stuck. It seems like that's where it wants to stay. Maybe it's because it's on top. Let's turn off snapping. Ah, that's what it was doing. I had snapping on. Part snap. So let's do that. Offset. There we go. Ah, nope, nope, nope. Not that. There we go. That looks okay, right? Yeah, that doesn't do anything. That looks sort of okay. That looks plausible. Not from a... You've got a mystery goo. It looks like Dr. Frankenstein of probocores, but... And then, yeah, so not a bad suggestion, Hazard. See, I still need to get used to having the offset tool around. It does make it a little bit different. I have to lower it a little bit. Oop, dang it. Because the scanner wants to do. So this is what we're gonna do. We're going to lower it until those side parts intersect with that. So now it looks like it's supposed to be structural. Wide-eyed Kerbal. Kerbal smash! Fire bad! Alright, sorry. A little throwback to Frankenstein on SNL. So that kind of works. Is that centered? Kind of. Alright, so that just leaves the detection array, which is 0.05, and this is just 0.01. That at least... Let's snap that. Kind of makes more sense. Now it's going to be heavier on this side because that telescope is basically all hollow. That looks less glitchy. There we go. Slap that on top of R10 booster set. 33. The R10 booster. I still have to get used to, yeah. Oh, that R10 booster. All right. Let's see here. Is that good enough? Center of mass. Let's, we should have, why is it not? We should have RCS assistant. Do we not have that? I don't have that loaded. Shoot, we're just gonna have to do it live. So I was supposed to have RCS assistant loaded up on here, but I don't, and that would have helped me center things a bit. And and I don't have that. I should have it. I don't. So we're just gonna have to do it live. Get it close as possible. 0.01, and let's see. We do need the antenna. 0.005. This is barely more. And we need the solar panels. And we need the solar panels arranged in such a way that all these instruments don't actually block them. Which is a little bit... John, we'll put this set up here. Actually, will we? So let's extend these to see what they're going to look like. That one's going to get blocked that way. It might actually... I don't know if the game will decide whether or not... Alright, so let's go with... Has an antenna, solar power. It has an antenna. I'm working on the solar panels. The trick is to get it so the parts aren't blocking. Does it care that it's... I don't like the look of that. I know that much. Instruments can't block sun. Only pods, probes, fuel tanks, and engines can. See, that's what I thought. But I still want to at least make it look plausible. So that kind of works. And just for completion's sake, I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, but I'm going to offset the this by 45 degrees. How much effect is it going to have? Next to none. But it will help with my OCD. So that kind of looks cool. And the last thing we need to check on for this part... Oh, for less... Satellite... I probably misspelled that. Mark 1. Let's save that in case we have a horrible crash. And we need to check if that's not the right thing, because I need to relearn all these. Okay, because that engine is so small, it doesn't actually intersect with the decoupler. So that's good. The only thing we need to keep an eye out for is that if this connection is too weak when we launch. Alright, let's double check this and make sure we have all of the... Why is the C in contracts bumped up like that? Does anyone else see that? No, you can't because my big old head is in the way. But yeah, the C in the contracts window down here is bumped up by like 2 pixels. And I work in design, and that bugs the hell out of me. Best starting probes. Tier 1 parts can get there 10,845 dV. Azert, you have like all of these stats and trivia at your beck and call. It's just I don't know how you do it. It's probably just with a lot of experience, right? Yeah, some people play... I like numbers when it comes to KSP, but I also need to do a little bit of Fashion Academy. I want it to at least look the part, or at least get there as best as I can with the available resources, which is really half the fun. Okay, must be a new probe. Check. Unmanned probe that has power and antenna. Check. Have a mystery science goo on the satellite. Check. Have a materials bay on the satellite. Damn! Has to have a material... It was a separate entry underneath the first one. It has to have a science bay. Do these things have fuel cross feed? It should, because it doesn't say it doesn't. See, like this says no fuel cross feed. This doesn't. So, and this stings. So I can put these down here instead. That cuts into our delta V. How much does that cut into our delta V? Well, it stings, but not by an enormous amount. Science Junior Bank, swap the tank to a FLT 200, you say? That's the... yeah. Oof. Yeah, we might need... oof. So, I spent all this time trying to cram this into a small area. And now we've got... we have all this surface area we could have used instead. Well, no, we still need to cram that into a small area, because... we might have found a use for changing its position vertically if we had RCS build aid. Which would allow us to build asymmetric a little bit more, but that's not exactly Fashion Academy. That is a huge satellite. It's that little. Oh, you can't see it. Hold on, because my big old head is currently in the way. Turn that off. Right. That little part that's hiding beneath everything else needs a materials bay. That threw me off. Does that... Yeah, see, it doesn't have that on the other one. So for the second mission, we don't need to have this materials bay. So keeping everything up here is still going to be useful, because then once we do this mission, I can just grab these, throw them off, put in a new tank, and go. So it's not like a total, oh, what have I done with my life for the past 30 minutes? But it does make it a little bit more challenging. Okay. We're up to 19 parts. FTL 200, better cost per unit for fuel. Yeah, the smaller engines don't do as well when it comes to cost to fuel ratio. But we have to get this from an APO of 3 million meters and get that back down to 100. So let's see here. I want the next stage to be liquid to have more fine control. Where are my tanks? There are my tanks. Gotta remember they're not stored in the same place anymore. We don't have action groups too, so I can't activate these all at once. That's just a minor pain. We'll give that a liquid engine. Maybe we might still do this. I'm not giving up yet. Limit the thrust of that R10 to give it, yeah. What is that now? That is the, oh, you're talking about the which one? I don't know all of these. Yeah, the RT10. Actually, that's what I'm just gonna do. No need for liquid launch stage. I know you could do this solid only. I bet you could. But I want to have a gimbal. I want to have this just to get the fine control down. So you could do it without it. I'm gonna try to do it without, or see if I can get away with it anyways. So we need, what do we need here? We need some of these. Ooh. We also have these big honkin' ones too. So that's not going to be enough, but I'm just trying to get an idea of what numbers we're looking at. Stage, we can't pay attention to this stage because we want all of that, if not more, for the orbit adjustment. So stage 2 gets us 2800, so that's 1500. So that's not what we were really. What's 3 of these look like? And we can thrust limit these. That's still not enough. That's enough to get us in the low Kerbin orbit, but we still need more. How much do these cost again? 700. Yeah. What if we go like all crazy? See, that's not actually giving us a monstrously more amount of delta V. Does kind of look cool though. I'm gonna say no on that one. So, let's see. That is not enough, to be perfectly honest. We've got these big old ones, smart boosters. Yeah. But what we can do, because these things are providing so much, we could probably do something like that. This might not be the best idea, but work with me for a second. Okay, so that is this stage we want to get after. We're going to do that after we're out of the atmosphere, so that is actually a fair amount of delta V. So what happens if we do that? That's getting us closer. How many parts do we have? So that would hit our part count right there. $700 delta V. Yeah, I used to have a chart here. I need to fix that for the next stream that will show you, but I want to make sure I want to get to the orbit with just that. This might work. This might work. I'm probably being too conservative about the fuel up top. I put these down a little bit because they have a tendency to flip off in odd directions, and when you decouple them, and I don't have any more parts to spend for a Separatron. I don't even have enough parts for a stability enhancer, because these count as parts, right? Yes, they do. I predict another jelly rocket. You are probably not far from the truth. Before we do anything else, let's thrust limit these. Let's get that to about 170, because this is basically going to be our entire way out in the atmosphere. I am going to fire the liquid engine a little bit too, because this has gimbaling and these don't, and that little probe core is not going to have much torque in it at all. So let's get this down to... I'm going to leave it a little bit higher than 1.7 because I don't want to throttle up the center stage here all the way. I just want to fire it up enough. So that should give us a steady burn. Why did my delta V? Oh. It says my delta V is going down. I don't know if I believe it. That goes off, that goes off. These both get fired. That gets fired. That gets fired. All right, I think